Hello friends, I am Tushar Kapde. I am working as assistant professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering of Matosri College of Engineering and Research Center, Eklahara, Nasik. So today's topic of discussion is that, as if we have already studied or started the discussion on introduction to the turbo machine, and the part of that turbo machine is that introduction to the governing equation and governing equation of the turbo machine, and then after we are going to see different types of losses in turbo machine that may occur and the application of turbo machine. So friends, we will start the discussion. So before starting this discussion, we will see what exactly it mean by governing equation. So governing equation is nothing but a kind of equation that actually uh, used to predict the performance of that device, that is what we call as a turbo machine. So to predict the performance of that particular device, it is necessary to govern the different types of quantities related to the transfer of energy are may consider, okay, as if a kind of thing, that is what we call as a parameter. Parameter is nothing but a input or output quantity. So input quantity is nothing but a kind of, we can say, energy given to the turbo machine, and output parameter or output quantity is nothing but the energy which is get converted, the input energies get converted into other form of energy. So that thing we are going to see in this governing equation. So see, uh, that governing equation is also called as the Eulerian turbine equation. Okay, so we will start the discussion now. Here you can see there is a disk. This is the disk. A kind of annular disk is provided, and on this annular disk there is a provision of this type of curved vane. This, or we can say, a kind of curvature is provided which is perpendicular to the plate. Okay, so this is how you can see that particular curved vane. Okay, so this is how that curved vane is there, and that curved vane is perpendicular to the plate surface. Okay, now this plate has inner radius as R2 and outer radius is R1. So let us assume that fluid what we are using here in this case is water. So that water is supposed to enter into this particular vein from this direction and supposed to exit in this direction. Okay, so that water has velocity v1, okay, at the inlet, and water has velocity v2 at the outlet. So you can see that this is how water is supposed to transfer. Now because of the application, or we can say transfer of water through this particular vein, there might be application of force because of the reason of what we call as the transfer of momentum. So because of transfer of momentum, there might be a possibility of, we can say, force exertion on this curved vein, and because of that reason this vein is supposed to rotate in this anti-clockwise direction. This plate is supposed to rotate along this, or we can say around this particular axis. Okay, this is the axis of rotation. Now this disc or plate, it has this one as a tangent. Here imaginary line you can observe, here there is a imaginary line, that is what we call as a tangent, okay, to the periphery, and this one is axis of rotation, and these two are nothing but, as I told you, R1 and R2 are nothing but outer and inner radius. Okay, now water is entering with velocity v1 and exiting with velocity v2. So we will just consider that v1 and v2 velocities are in space. So velocity, or we can say velocity, is a kind of vector quantity. It has a magnitude and it has a direction. So the direction is in space, somewhere else in this particular space. So we will just govern that particular direction into three components of that direction, as if we are considering the 3D diagram or 3D kind of disk. Okay, so we will just classify that particular thing of, we can say, transfer, or we can say conversion of v1 into three components in such a way that v1 has a radial component along the radius, v2 has radial component along the radius, v1 has one component which is along the tangent, and v2 also has one of the component which is along the tangent. So here is the tangent, and last one is nothing but these two quantities, that is v1 and v2 has two components along the axis. Okay, so let us start with one by one. V1 and V2 are absolute velocities at entry and exit respectively. So already we have seen that thing, as if water has a working medium, water has inlet velocity V1 and exit velocity is V2. Okay, one stands for inlet, two stands for exit. Now along the radius, this V1 has the component VR1 and V2 has component VR2. These two quantities are along radius. Then after, this V1 has two components along axis. V1 has VA1 as the axial component and V2 has VA2 along the axis. Okay, so this is the axis, and along the axis we have VA1 along the axis and VA2 along this axis. Okay, now last type of component are nothing but VW1 and VW2 are nothing but components of V1 and V2 along the tangent. Okay, so this is the tangent and this one is tangent. So along the tangent we have these components. Okay, so these three types of components are there. I will recapitulate all these things. VR1 and VR2 are nothing but radial components. VA1 and VA2 are nothing but axial component, and VW1 and VW2 are what we call as the tangential component. These two components, that is tangential component, are given as VW1 and VW2. W stands for whirl. Whirl is nothing but what we call as a rotation, or we can say some sort of revolution. So these two components of velocity V1 and V2 actually causes a complete rotation of this particular disk. That's why those creates a rotation, those creates whirling. That's why those components are what we call as a whirl component. So here we have the thing that is what we call as a whirl component. That thing you have to remember. Now we will see the derivation of this particular equation in such a way that from this diagram we can say that from the fundamental of basic physics, angular momentum is given by, basically what is momentum? Mass into velocity is what we call as the momentum, and if we multiply this momentum with radius we will have angular momentum. Okay, or moment of momentum is what we call as a angular momentum. Okay, so if we have such a type of thing, then after, for this particular diagram we can reframe angular momentum at inlet and angular momentum at outlet. So like this, the angular momentum at inlet is m dot into Vw1 into r1. What is m dot? M dot is nothing but mass flow rate of water which is circulating through this particular disk. Vw1 is nothing but the component which causes rotation. So this component, that is Vw1, is the component that causes rotation, and r1 is nothing but the radius r1. Okay, so m dot into Vw1 into r1 is nothing but angular momentum at inlet. Similarly, angular momentum at exit will be like this, m dot into Vw2 into this r2. So this is very simplified form of, we can say, a kind of explanation related to this particular point. Now next is, if we consider the impulse momentum principle. What is impulse momentum principle? Is nothing but what we call as the second law of Newton's second law of motion. Okay, so Newton's second law of motion explains about the thing that is what we call as the force. So here in this case, instead of having direct force, or we can say linear force, we have a kind of twisting force, and that twisting force is nothing but what we call as a torque. So if we consider the impulse momentum principle, it explains that force is equal to that of rate of change of momentum. Now twisting force, or we can say torque, is nothing but basically rate of change of angular momentum. Instead of having linear momentum, we have here angular momentum. So that thing can be written like this: the rate of change of momentum from inlet to the outlet. So tau is equal to inlet, or we can say angular momentum at inlet minus angular momentum at outlet. Okay, so this is your equation number 1. Okay, next thing is that nothing but what we call as the energy, or we can say work done. So what is that work done? Work done, if we consider the simple definition, is nothing but force into displacement. So here in this case, this is nothing but what we call as a twisting force, and rotation of this disc is nothing but angular displacement, and that angular displacement is nothing but a kind of, we can say, angular velocity of this disc, which may be given as omega. Okay, so we can say that the work done per unit time, or we can say total power produced, can be written as force. What is that force? Twisting force into angular displacement. Okay, so if we consider this thing for the work done, then after this whole equation is being multiplied by omega. Okay, so omega is nothing but angular velocity. Now if we modify that particular equation by multiplying this whole quantity by omega, you will have m dot into Vw1 into r1 into omega, r1 into omega, here we have angular velocity omega, minus m dot into Vw2 into r2 into omega. Okay, so r1 omega and r2 omega is nothing but conversion of this angular velocity into linear velocity at this location and at this location. Okay, so here we can say that r1 and omega, r1 into omega is nothing but linear velocity at this point, and r2 into omega is nothing but linear velocity at this point. So r1 into omega is nothing but u1 and r2 into omega is nothing but u2. We will consider this as a convention. So we can replace this whole quantity by this u1. So m dot into Vw1 into u1 minus m dot into Vw2 into u2. This is nothing but what we called as basically Euler's or Euler's turbine equation. Okay, so this is all about related to that of, we can say, the basic fundamental equation for basically a turbo machine. Okay, if we consider the convention of thermodynamics. Okay, so in case of thermodynamics subject, we have seen that the energy given to the system is always positive and energy coming out from that particular system is negative. But if we consider the work done for the system, if we are providing the work to that particular system, it is always negative, and if we are getting some sort of work from that particular system, it is always positive. So if we consider power producing devices, if it is the equation, then for power absorbing device you must have to multiply this equation by negative sign, because we are supplying work to the system. So ultimately you will have, after application of minus sign over here, you will have the work done for power absorbing devices like compressor and pump. The equation will be m dot into Vw2 into u2, because this negative will become positive, and minus m dot Vw1 into u1 watt. So this is all about related to the Euler's equation, or we can say Euler's turbine equation. So we will see different types of losses in the turbo machine. So to give you a brief idea, I have deliberately considered this particular diagram so that you will get a better idea. So here we have a dam in which water is stored at the higher elevation. The water from that particular dam is supposed to transfer to the turbine house, or we can say to directly a turbine, with the help of device that is what we call as a penstock. Then after that particular turbine converts the energy which is available in the water, either pressure energy or kinetic energy, into a mechanical energy. Then after, there is a provision of this shaft and coupling. There is a transfer of this mechanical energy to that of your generator to convert that particular mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay, so these all things are there related to that of your transfer of energy. Now we will see what are different locations where different losses may occur. So if we consider first of all this pipe, this is very large diameter pipe. Okay, so the water which is flowing through this particular pipe may occur a kind of loss of energy to overcome the friction which is offered by the pipe's inner surface. So that particular frictional loss may be found out with the help of a very fundamental equation, that is what we call as the Darcy-Webash equation, that is you people have studied already in fluid mechanics in second year engineering. Okay, and that equation we will recapitulate in next slide, so don't worry. Then after, there is a provision of the nozzle. In the nozzle there might be some sort of shock loss may occur, and that particular loss is to be considered as a kind of nozzle loss. That thing can be found out with the help of various parameters related to the nozzle analysis, and that thing we will see later on. Then after, in this particular turbine house, there might be some sort of losses may occur due to the leakages, and those losses are also very harmful one, so that there is a reduction of overall efficiency of the turbo machine will occur. Then after, there are some sort of hydraulic losses. Hydraulic losses may cause due to 6 different causes. So we will see those particular thing in the next slide. In this particular coupling, or we can say bearing assembly, there is a relative motion between solid body and solid body. Okay, so or solid and stationary body. So because of that reason, that relative motion causes a kind of loss, that is what we call as frictional loss, and that loss is to be summarized as a mechanical loss. Then after, in the generator, there might be some sort of loss due to, we can say, winding deformities may occur, and that particular thing will be considered as a generation losses. So there are 6 types of losses that we have to see in this particular discussion. So it will start with first loss, that is what we call as the frictional loss. So as I told you, in case of penstock, we will have here in this particular case, we will have some sort of loss due to the friction, and that loss can be found out with the help of this equation, as I told you, Darcy-Webash equation. What is that Darcy-Webash equation? HF is equal to FLV square upon 2GD, where F is nothing but friction factor of that particular pipe. L, capital L, is nothing but total length of the penstock. V is nothing but velocity of the fluid which is passing through that particular penstock. G is nothing but gravitational constant, and D is nothing but the diameter of that particular penstock pipe. Okay, so with the help of this, we can find out the frictional loss. In the nozzle loss, the loss of energy may take place due to a kind of, we can say, conversion of pressure energy into kinetic energy. But as if we have a sudden contraction, that sudden contraction may produce a kind of shock wave, and that shock wave may reduces the loss, or may reduces the energy, and that energy basically is nothing but a loss of kinetic energy. In case of generator, there is a kind of loss due to generation. As I told you, there is a conversion of mechanical energy into electrical energy. There is some sort of loss may occur. Leakage losses, these are losses due to loss of mass flow rate of water leaked through that particular turbine. Then after, these 2 major losses are there. Apart from these 4 losses, these 2 losses are to be considered. The first one is nothing but hydraulic loss. This hydraulic loss may occur due to the disc friction, flow separation, contraction, diffusion, eddy formation, loss in casing, and draft tube losses. So all these losses we are going to see eventually into discussion of hydraulic turbines. Okay, so these particular loss or causes, it takes a lot of time for the discussion, and I will take all these things in a very brief way, so don't worry about it. Then after mechanical losses, if there is some sort of relative motion in between solid to solid body, there is a kind of thing that is what we call as a friction, and because of that friction, there is a loss that is what we call as a mechanical loss. So that mechanical loss may be in bearing, in transmission, in oil pump coupling, oil pump friction, in coupling losses, in sealing, and in different types of speed regulators. So we will have such a type of loss due to friction, and that particular loss is summarized as mechanical loss. Now we will see the application of turbo machine. So application of turbo machine are everywhere, like from domestic application to that of your industrial application. Industries have very large amount of, we can say, application of turbo machine. So it is, if you consider power producing devices in different types of hydraulic power plants, we are using 3 types of turbines. First one is nothing but Pelton turbine. So this is what we call as a Pelton turbine. So Dr. Pelton have invented this type of turbine, that's why it is called as a Pelton turbine. Okay, so this is a kind of tangential flow turbine. The application of such turbine is at low speed, but where there is availability of high head. At that particular location, we are using such type of Pelton turbine. Then after, we have a Francis type of turbine. This is the Francis turbine. When there is a medium speed and medium head applications are there. At that time we are using such type of Francis turbine. Head is nothing but what we call as the water which is available at specific location. If water available from the turbine is at a very high location, then after it is to be considered as high head application, high head location. If it is at somewhat lower one than that of high, so obviously high means what, basically more than that of your 300 meter is nothing but we can say a high head application. Medium head application is from 150 meter and to that of your 50 meter application. Then after we have a Kaplan type of turbine when there is a high speed but low head applications are there. At that time we are using this type of turbine, that is what we call as a Kaplan turbine. So these are what we call as the hydraulic turbines. Other type of turbine are nothing but steam turbines. So this is the steam turbine. In unit number 4 we are going to see such type of turbine. So these turbines are used in thermal power plants and in cogeneration power plants. Cogeneration power plants or cogeneration plants are nothing but one of the example is sugar factory. In sugar factory the bagasse is supposed to burn, and because of that particular thing of burning of the bagasse we are getting some sort of heat energy as output, and that heat energy is utilized for conversion of the normal water into a steam, and then after that steam is used for power production purpose. Then after we have a gas turbine as an application, different types of gas power plants. So if we remember, Dabhol is one of the power plant which is available in Maharashtra, which is thoroughly considered to be a most important gas power plant. Okay, and in aircrafts there is a very large application of this type of gas turbines. Okay, centrifugal pumps, as we all know, that are used for what purpose? To lift water from lower elevation to the higher elevation. So this is what we call as a centrifugal pump. It has so many applications from domestic to industry. Centrifugal compressors are there. Different types of centrifugal compressors where high compression ratio per stage is required. Then after, axial compressors are used, like in case of gas power plants and in different types of aircrafts. Fan and blowers are used for comfort condition and for industrial applications. So all these applications we will see in one by one chapter in the later lectures of this particular topic or subject, that is what we call as a turbo machine. So friends, now we will conclude this particular discussion related to the governing equation we have seen in this particular lecture. Then after losses, and at the end we have seen the application of turbo machine. So on this particular topic, if you have any doubts related to this particular topic, so you can ask me on this my mail ID, and you can give me your feedback so that we can improvise our lecture series. Thank you very much.